This encounter happened to me about 12 years ago. I was around 24 at the time. I worked hospitality, so it'd be later at night when my friends and I hung out. So, at around 9 o'clock my friend and I decided to go for a drive, someplace we've never been. We just get in the car and go. I offered and wanted to drive because my mother was out of town and I was using her Mercedes. It was one of those early 90s e-bodies, the ones that were big piles of heavy steel, a real tank of a car. I only mention the car body because it becomes relevant later in the story. He happily agreed and we hit the road. We lived near Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the time. We drive north out of the city and for about an hour when I see an exit I don't recognize and decide to get off there. There was nothing at this exit other than cornfields, no gas station or restaurant signs, and no visible light of a town in any direction. So we are in a place we don't recognize, but that was the point, just driving to get nowhere because the speed limit was 35 and we were in no rush. The moon was bright enough that everything was pretty visible. About a mile into the cornfields, we could see two kids on the right side of the road. We comment on how weird it is because there is no housing or stores, not even lights on the horizon. Plus it was 10:30-ish at night. We're two larger guys so we don't worry about anything. I slow down so we can inquire if their car broke down or if they were okay. As we pulled up, I noticed the clothing of the kid in front. It was a stained cream-colored tweed-type shirt with real tattered sleeves and overalls with only one strap. He appeared to be maybe 12 years old. The second kid was taller, wearing a red flannel-type shirt, with old-time-looking khaki pants. However, I could barely notice the taller kid standing further behind the smaller one because as I pulled up while noticing the clothes, I got to see the whole child fully and his arms were to his side slightly raised, almost in that iconic zombie way. But his eyes, I couldn't take my eyes off of his, and I did my best to mutter to my friend, "You're seeing this too, right?" His eyes were pitch black, blacker than the night, but easy to see as he stood there staring at us. I did not know what the heck I was seeing, but I've never been so frightened in my life and I've had several odd experiences that have left me unable to deny that there is more in this world than what we understand. So we're stopped for a moment locking eyes with whatever this thing was. It was no child, it was evil. I have zero doubts of that. We quickly agree to go, and fast. We are not going to inquire with them. This was straight out of Twilight Zone, and I remembered the hitchhiker, and that was not happening tonight. No, sir. So, we go and we clamor between ourselves. What the $pound sign ad did we just see? What was that? What the hell was that? Still no signs of homes, just open cornfields. How could these two kids be there? I don't know, but I don't believe those were kids. So I keep driving, and we get out of the fields into a wooded windy road shortly after around 5 minutes. Here in Wisconsin there are random historical markers displaying in whatever year this happened information. I only mention that because I passed one on the curve, so I glanced at that. As I'm driving through a curve going about 45 miles per hour, a creature walks in front of my car. As I saw it, it was nothing like I ever saw. Its spine was tall, it stuck above the hood ornament as I hit it. It was a gray color and looked like nothing I've ever seen. It had a very tall arch in its spine, almost like when a cat hisses and goes on its toes, that kind of shape but in a very tall gangly creature. I hit this thing straight on with the tank of a Benz. My friend is freaked out at this point, as am I to say the least. I stop immediately, but now we're both a bit scared from the children of the corn, and now this thing literally within minutes of one another. We decide getting out is not going to happen. But I decide to stay in the locked car, but use the car and its lights to see what we hit and make sure of whatever the hell it was is dead, and I needed to know what I just saw. I drive in tiny circles backing up and forwards looking for this creature, but after checking every inch within 100 yards and not seeing anything, including not a drop of blood where I hit it, straight on with a Benz, making contact with its spine, body, and head anywhere. That was unnerving, and although I wanted to check my mother's car, that would be dealt with further down the road. We were not going to get out there. So we decided to head home at this point. 15 minutes later, before I got back to the freeway, and I needed to get out and see how bad the car was. As I got out to check, quickly as I was not taking chances tonight, I noticed my grill was busted in, but nothing too bad. So I made sure it was secure and got back in as quickly as possible. My friend decided to stay inside the car. Recently, I heard of the black-eyed kids and freaked out a little bit. I did not know that they were a real thing. I thought I just saw a couple demon kids or damned ghosts, or I didn't know what to think. To this day, I've looked through tons of photos of supposed cryptid beasts and mythological creatures looking for what I hit. And the closest I've found is some Algonquin drawings of Wendigos, and they were very close to what I believe I saw and hit that night. It seems to me very odd both things could happen so close to one another to not be related. I would like to point out I've lived in Wisconsin a long time, and it was not a deer or a coyote or anything else. What I hit was nothing native to the known Wisconsin landscape, and neither were those horrid kids. I will never forget either of those faces, and just hope I never come across them ever again. Ho.